and welcome to the sixth and final in our series of clips where we're taking a look at various leadership styles and questioning about how we might want to integrate them or emphasise them as we're moving through quite a challenging and rapidly shifting context. The one that we're going to look at now is pace setting. As the name implies, this is about really throwing some energy into the process. I find it useful to use the image of a pace setter in a long distance race. Whoever the pace setter is, they're not expected to win it. What they're there for is to get everyone else performing at a higher level than they might if the pace setter wasn't there. So it's about that kind of be the target, be the energy, set that standard that people are going to aspire to and keep up with. So let's take a look at some of the features of it, shall we?
Okay, well, I think for people who want to introduce this style, we need to be very clear about why we're introducing it, and also have some idea about the impacts of it. We are in a leadership role, whether we want to accept this or not. We are responsible for the well-being of the people who are working with us and towards us. So when we're considering a pace setting style, my question would be how fast and how long for? And if it's going to take place over a protracted period, how do we ensure that we're looking after the health, the well-being of the teams with whom we're asking to? Come on, we need to up the pace here. We need a sense of urgency. We need a sense of achievement. We need maybe a sense of convincing an external audience that we are up to the job and we are performing to the very best of our abilities. Skill set that we're looking at here, the competencies that we're looking at here, it's almost setting the climate, isn't it? One where there's a real emphasis on the quality of transactions that are taking place, where we're very clear about what it is we are trying to achieve, and that's where the primary focus of our activities is aligned. That we may have to display initiative in the way we bring teams together, the way we bring individuals together, the outside support we might access, the IT support we might access, how alert we are to other developments in helping us to achieve our goals and our aims. Persistent and consistent throughout this is the idea of high-paced drive. And to take you back a slide, you'll recall that I've hinted on, and I'll say quite clearly now, that it is my view that if we are entering this arena, we need to have some consideration to the impacts of that sort of working environment on people who may not be used to it, who have got lives to balance. However, this isn't a deficiency model. This is about working with highly motivated, competent teams. And it may be somewhere where standards have slipped or the criteria, the achievement criteria has changed. I think it's really important that we bear that in mind as we take a look at the next slide. So accompany me once more on my teaching analogy. What have we got to do this for? Well, what we've got to do this for is that it may well be, here's a scenario for you, that external audit, internal audit or compliance has found that we're wanting in an area, and we simply have got to up our game. We've got to be doing that better in order to be either legally compliant or compliant with our own policies. It might well be that there's been a significant change. It may well be that we will lose our share of the market unless we make some changes to the way we're doing things. So where we are right now with the changing work patterns, they seem to invite a pace-setting element of what it is we're doing, because we have got to be in a place where we're performing well quite soon. If we're not, then we could say that there's a real danger that other organisations may take our business, or we simply may not generate enough income to carry on going forward. So a negative impact on work climate is to see this isn't about having a fun time. This is about focusing. Look at who we're focusing with: highly skilled, competent and motivated teams. So there are some assumptions there that we've actually got the capacity to do things. Why are we doing it? We need to get our tasks performed to a high standard. So for leaders, we need to be very clear about what that standard is. We need to make sure that we've communicated it, that we've got buy-in to it, and that it's actually non-negotiable. Similarly, what are the results we want? What are the outputs that we're looking for? And are we unequivocally clear about what they are? And also, are we clear about what help people need in order to reach them? If we are, we've placed ourselves in a strong position to inject that pace, inject that energy. Also, I think quite important, and not included on the slide, is we also need to know when we've finished. And we need to spare a little bit of time and say, we have done that well. What have we learned? What do we carry forward?
Okay, so pace setting style. Let me preface my comments by saying that this is one of 6, and that the better leaders are the ones who can integrate at least 4 of the styles that we've talked about. 4 of those styles are quite positive. The last 2 are quite negative, and by negative here, it's about stopping stuff and doing something else. Let's remind ourselves, this one concentrates on highly motivated, highly competent teams. 2 critical factors here. Because if we've got a poorly motivated team that's not all that good at what it does, then we've actually got a motivation and upskilling issue to look at first. And I don't see do this or lose your job as being a motivation. It'll peak up pretty quickly, but it's hard to sustain that level of motivation. So we have to think about the sort of pace we're injecting there and how long we want to sustain it for. It might be helpful for us to take a look at our own memory of where we've possibly experienced pace setting. Have there been occasions when you thought, you know what, that was exactly what was needed at that time? We upped our game and we saw there were noticeable differences, and we've seen it in the increase in the bottom line. We've seen it in the way people have spoken about our outputs. It's really added to the story we can tell about ourselves. Similarly, there may be occasions where you might be able to say to yourself, that was exactly the wrong thing to do at that time, because we hadn't looked at morale, we hadn't looked at skill levels, we hadn't taken into account where it fits in with everything else that's going on at the moment. So they're quite sensitive and thought-provoking areas to go into. Let me emphasise again that some of them will suit your individual style better than others. However, practice and practice it again, because life is not going to do us the favour of standing still while we get better at the moment. I think we need to, as in our leadership role, we need to be moving at pace ourselves and saying, how do I need to change in order to better guarantee the organisational health and well-being of myself and the team and the organisation I'm working for. So I hope you've enjoyed this, and say last of the series, I hope there's something here for everyone that you can take away, think on, reflect on, and by all means contact us. Some details will follow soon. Thank you.